strictly about dining. And you said, okay, how many visits here versus elsewhere? And as you can see, it's almost at parity. 3.6 times a month here versus 4.5 times a month elsewhere outside of Nutley. That's pretty good. That's a pretty reasonable capture rate. You might be able to goose that up to 50%, but beyond that, it's going to be a tough reach. But there's clearly a bit of a share that you could grab in more dining. And in terms of the amount they spend per visit, it's again almost at parity. $22 a dining visit here versus $26 per visit elsewhere. So you're doing a good job at capturing dining. As I say again, there's room to capture more, but you're doing a much better job at dining than you're doing at retail. Next, please. Okay. With regard to competition, we asked them where do they like to shop when they're going to these other places. I mean, we gave them a list of 8 locations, plus we gave them the option to write in others. And what we found was that, contrary to popular belief, many people were telling us during stakeholder interviews and merchant interviews that, oh, these people all go to Montclair, and they're not coming here, they're all going to Montclair. Montclair is not your big competitor. 82% of your residents visit Clifton Commons at least monthly, and 22% of the residents go there on a weekly basis. So that's where most of that retail spending is happening at Clifton Commons. You're going to be able to do a lot of what Montclair does. Montclair is grabbing people, not necessarily their own residents. Yeah, they service a lot of their own residents, but they attract a lot of outsiders who come to dine and to shop. You could do the same thing, I mean that way, and you would not be competing with one another, because you could do it in a way that focuses on slightly different interests. Okay, next. We asked people why they don't visit more often, and these were the top reasons, and this tells you something about why you're missing a lot of shopping. Number one, they don't like the stores that are here. Number two, too few stores. And by the way, here we're splitting out in blue. These are the blue answers are the ones from shoppers, people who shop here at least once a month. The ones in red are people who don't shop here as regular, less than one time a month. And you can see they feel even more strongly about those issues. They just don't feel there's anything here for them. With selection of dining, they don't feel as badly. Less than half feel like the selection is not good. And less than that even are concerned about merchandise quality. So those are issues. It's just selection and availability. Okay. What would make them visit more? The top choice was fresh produce. They also want more full-service dining. You can see those numbers are registering over, close to 80% there. And the colors are, this time we're breaking the answers out in terms of length of their residency here in Nutley. Blue are the people who have lived here the least, less than 5 years. The red group have lived here 5 to 10 years, and the green for over 10 years. So they're your longer-term residents. And you can see how their interests differ somewhat, but for the most part, they're kind of paralleling each other. They really jump to a big difference when it comes to doctors and kids dining on the right there. The younger, newer families are obviously younger families. They're more interested in having options for their children and having the doctors available probably for their children. So, next slide, please. What attracts newcomers? And here again, we're finding they tell us they would love to have a more walkable downtown. They like more shopping and dining choices. They want better entertainment and recreation choices. They love highway proximity. That's already a good thing here. Access to rail is also very important to them, but of course we don't have that here, so that's not something, and maybe that's something you get to work with to the future, but it's just not something available now. Next. Okay. How do we distinguish among residents? I'll just quickly point out to you, the column on the left are the under 5-year residents, and they're distinguished by saying more of them are likely to rent space here than the other groups. 27% of them are male renters. Okay, so you're likely to find renters among these younger people. They are the youngest group with an average age of 39.2 years. You can see the older, the longer you've lived here, the older the average age. And of course, even though they're not the most affluent, they're fairly affluent. At $140,000 a year average household income is affluent. Now, the center group is the most affluent. The people who've been here 5 to 10 years, they're much more intent on home ownership. And then the oldest group, the people on the right, been here more than 10 years, they're not quite as affluent as the other two. Many of them are now on retirement income. They don't have the children, but they're still affluent. They still have a lot of available disposable dollars. And this is the kind of information that would be very interesting to retailers. Okay, next. All right. So let's say we finished with the review of community. We told you what the stakeholders, the merchants, the owners, and the community survey told us. And to hit the highlights of that, they always told me, big nose. So now, one too far. Go back one. Thank you, there you go. Oops. Well, anyway, we learned that the trade area is Nutley today, but that much greater opportunity lies within a 5-mile radius here, and that's what you should go for. That you need more foot traffic. Boy, see that? Maybe put on the glasses if I can read this one. That you have, that you address the parking debate. And again, we do that for you. We provide you with what we view as the answers to this. We don't think it's necessarily a question of building more spaces. It's more a question of how you manage them. That marketing help be provided to your retailers so you can reach that wider market. That better facades be created so you can attract the retailers that you want and stimulate more foot traffic. That you spread the public investment into some of the other areas as you are able. If you were to do that again, we recommend moving into Center and Chestnut to link them more to what you've already built on Franklin. That distinctive destination is what people want you to be. They don't want to just be Nutley for Nutley's sake. They want outsiders visiting here. There should be more stores with goods, more restaurants, a better mix, and there should be a lot more events so that more people will try you want as a trial visit. Okay, on to the next. Thanks. Next, demographics. The average household income we've already mentioned is $95,900 per household in Nutley. That's greater than it is at the 3-mile radius, the 5-mile radius, even Essex County. And it's on par with what the average income is statewide. Population-wise, we've made some interesting comparisons here. We've thrown in your population of 28,878 at the top there, Nutley. Next is Richmond, with just over 200,000 people. Next, we're showing the 3-mile radius, which has more people in it than the city of Richmond. Next, we're showing the city of Atlanta, which has 447,000 people and a terrific retail market. And your 5-mile radius trumps that. You have more people in a 5-mile radius of the intersection of Franklin and Chestnut than the entire city of Atlanta, Georgia. That's something to think about. It's something that is a strong message for retail. We also looked at your psychographics. Psychographics is really a measurement of the lifestyles of the people who live in your trade area. And in your situation, those are the top ones. I know those names mean nothing to you, City Arts, Pleasantville, and Enterprising Professionals. Hopefully they give you some indication of what that means. But the people at USRI, where we buy this data, have classified every single person living in America as belonging to one of 64 lifestyle groups. It's amazing that they're able to do it in the magic of algorithms. And they identify characteristics for each one. For those 3 that are your top 3 here in Nutley, they're all affluent types. And some are more urban style. So for example, city lights. Let me tell you the description of that and why it's of interest to retailers. City Lights people are a younger population. Their average age is around 36.3 years old. They have an urban lifestyle. They're most interested in shopping for furniture, home furnishings, personal goods. They like newer, diverse groceries. So they like health foods, organic groceries, that sort of thing. They take yoga and aerobics. They love to travel, and they love entertaining. They don't necessarily like to focus on buying goods and objects like big cars or boats, things like that. They like experiences. So to the extent that downtown can provide them with an engaging social experience, they're all for it. And that represents 40% of the people who are here now. The other categories, as I say, are also affluent and have other purchasing interests. We'll provide you with each of the profiles in your written report so you can see. But the key here is not so much for you to be interested in it, but what we can then in turn say on their behalf to retailers, because each retailer, major retailers, know exactly which group they like to cater to, group or group. So for you to be able to say, this is who we have. And of course, there are a lot more in the 5-mile radius. Go on. Next, demand and leakage. This is interesting too. Leakage is the measurement of how much is sold, how much is sold by stores within a geographic area versus how much is purchased in retail goods and services by people living in that same geographic area. To the extent that people living in a given area spend more on a category than that category is sold within that area, that's leakage. That means they have to leave the area to buy what they want. They can't buy enough of it where they are. Okay? We found that we measured the total amount of retail demand in terms of billions of dollars a year. For Richmond, Virginia, it was just over $2 billion a year. At your 3-mile radius, 3 miles from this spot, $3.27 billion is spent on retail goods and services in a year. Much more than the city of Richmond, Virginia. Atlanta, $5.15 billion a year. At your 5-mile radius, you're outspending that at $7.2 billion a year. So it's an extraordinary market that you have here, extraordinary appetite for retail. How much of that is leaking out? Well, at the 5-mile radius, $1.75 billion a year is happening. People who live in that 5-mile radius have to leave the 5-mile area to spend that extra $1.75 billion. Okay, so there's a lot of that you can capture here in certain categories that work for you. So that too is something that would be very interesting to retailers. Okay, we showed you leakage by category. These are the top categories. These are not the only categories that are showing leakage. So these are categories that you can go into that you're... Now, where we say clothing and accessories there, again, as I said earlier, you can't try to go head-to-head with some major clothing retailers. You can't do something that compete with a TJ Maxx. But you can do specialty clothing, as you do here now. These dresses, for example. You could do uniforms, you could do infant wear, lots of special boutique type clothing. So there are plenty of ways to try to capture some of that money that is currently leaking out of the area. Next. So to summarize the economic, we've completed the economic leg of the analysis. That makes all 3 done. And for some reason those slides have trouble coming up. What we learned from that again is your trade area today is a township of Nutley, 28,000, almost 29,000 people. What your trade area could be with some marketing and by bringing in some retailers in those areas that you're not currently well represented, by beefing that up, you could appeal to the people of that 5-mile radius that are currently leaking $1.75 billion a year. Instead of the 167. Right now, Nutley is spending $167 million a year outside of Nutley. That's a big leakage factor right there. You could capture some up, but it doesn't touch the 5-mile radius leakage factor. All right. So anyway, those are the points from economics. Let's move on to okay. Now we have all the data. What's the plan? What should you be doing? Well, this is what we think. There's a community consensus for action. There is very low satisfaction with the status quo. People don't like the mix that's here. They like to see proactive action toward trying to do something about balancing the mix. We think that you could do something, the township itself could get involved and do something about managing that mix. You could do a dedicated business retention program to help the good businesses that you have already and make sure that you don't lose them. And in a minute we'll talk about some of the unique, extraordinary businesses that you have that many residents, let alone people in the 5-mile radius, don't know that you have. Two, we think you should begin a proactive recruitment program to get the better mix. You can specifically target categories of retail, players within those categories, and get them here by showing them the demand data, unmet demand in their categories, and showing them what a great place this is to try to capture that unmet demand. Third, we think you should add some more mixed-use developments so that you can create two things. Number one, and we use this background picture deliberately to illustrate this point. I mean, there obviously is the Mecca development on Franklin Street, which has retail at grade and residential above. We think you could use more of that because you need more retail space. You're not going to be able to attract these new retailers with the very limited amount of vacancy that you have. And yet, you have so much demand for retail, you can attract better retailers. But the space can't be the old configuration, and it needs to be in the right spot, and it needs to be the modern design. So you can accomplish that through this redevelopment. And also greater residential density is needed. You need more people living in your downtown corridor so that they add to the foot traffic. So that they're helping to build that foot traffic, people out there on the street every day. Okay. We also think that you've got an opportunity with a focused recruitment of new retailers to become the kind of community that the people you want to attract in here are looking for. Something that you'll never lose the wonderful traditional values that you have, the traditional architecture that you have, and the history that you have. It's already appealing to so many people. But the younger generation of millennials are also looking for some other features. They love these good bones features that you have. There are other things they want too, and they really love for something to be more hip, more with it, more in tune with social media and the internet, ways to network, ways to socialize in their downtown, and we're going to give you a few ideas on that. So with all of that, we think that you've got great opportunities to enroll your local merchants, property owners, and commercial brokers in a program that would target the recruitment of the right businesses, then go after and recruit them and market the town, not just to those retailers, but also to the general public to get some of the people in that 5-mile radius to come here and shop. Let's talk about some specific things you can do to do that. There are some things you can do in the short term. You can skip right on to the next slide. Thanks. Okay, in the short term, you want to involve your stakeholders. You want to talk to them and say, we've been presented with a plan. We've learned all this data about Nutley Township and the kind of retail infrastructure that we have, the kind of opportunities that we have. And we've decided as a community, after reaching out to everyone in town and finding out that what they really want to do is a location where outsiders come in, this is the path we're going to take to do it. Are you with us? Will you do it? What does it mean to be with us? It means that if we do a recruiting program and we go to the trouble and the expense of coming up with a list of prospects of new retail businesses that we want to attract in here, if you will actually entertain those prospects, Mr. Commercial Property Owner, you will bring them into your space, Ms. Commercial Property Owner, and show it to them and offer them a reasonable rent. Allow us to get them in here rather than entertaining the easiest thing that would come to hand for you, which would be a check cashing place or another pizzeria or whatever it is that we don't need. We've decided these are the things we do need. We want you to buy in and help us to get to this more strong retail mix. Okay, on to the next. You also need to do something to get your ducks in a row. Right now, one thing we found that there was kind of confusion about is who's got the authority to do what? Who's going to organize people? And how should we organize it in a way that we can fund things and over a long-term basis and make a retail recruitment program and a marketing program something that has a permanent footing here in Nutley? And we looked at a variety of things for you. It's obviously something that the township commissioners could do on their own. possibly the Economic Development Advisory Committee could do, although they wouldn't have a budgeting power. You could seek Main Street designation from Main Street, New Jersey, which is great for Oregon